Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Destiny 2. Taking a little departure from our flight simming, and we're going to be taking a look at a build that I have come up with. I'm sure there's different versions of a similar build to this, but this is the one that I've generated while playing the game. So this is on Warlock, and it's primarily based on the Arc subclass. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the build. So here we are on our Warlock here with the Arc subclass. What we're basically doing is we are designing a Ionic Sentry build with basically as much uptime on your super as possible. So there's a few things that we're going to need for this. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Stormcaller build. Aspects are Ionic Sentry. This is one of the key aspects of what we are using. So, as it reads, defeat targets with kinetic or arc weapons or arc abilities to charge up an arc turret to periodically change lightning between nearby targets, granting a stack of bolt charge with each hit. And it's also important to note here that the Ionic Sentry damage is scaled by the enhanced benefit of the grenade stat. The other aspect we are using is Electrostatic Mind. Defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. And then, obviously, collecting that ionic trace makes you amplified. And the ionic traces are very, very important to this build, and you'll see why here in a little bit. Chaos Reach is our subclass, because that goes with the exotic armor we are using. For the abilities, the melee, Chain Lightning, because what it does is it's a nice extended melee that will jolt and it'll chain to a couple enemies nearby, and it does a pretty sizable amount of damage too. And then our grenade, I'm using the flashbang grenade just because it has a large explosion radius, and it does add blind to the enemies that are targeting you. So kind of reduces their ability to do anything and kind of adds just a little bit to the survivability aspect. Coming over here to our fragments. So the fragments are also pretty important for this build. Spark of Shock for jolting grenades. Spark of Discharge. So arc weapon final blows have a chance to create your ionic trace. So there's another way of getting ionic traces. Amplitude, so this is rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified, creates an orb of power. So this also will help get your super back faster because you're pretty much going to be amplified most of the time you're in combat. And then Spark of Ions. This is defeating a jolt target or defeating a target with bolt charge creates an ionic trace. Now you can choose to swap out like Amplitude if you're having problem with survivability. You can go to Resistance, so you can kind of get a little bit more incoming damage resist. But these are the four that I like to run. Alright, looking here at our armor. So we're running the Luminoptent set. So what this does is we have a 4-set bonus and a 2-set bonus, which reads, when amplified, your fusion rifles, LFRs, and heat weapons gain increased hand and reload vent speeds, which is nice to have, but it's not really that important. What we're looking at is the 4-piece. It says, final blows with jolt or against jolted combatants create ionic traces. Now what this does is, in our subclass, there is an internal cooldown on your ionic trace generation. So this armor set somewhat bypasses this internal cooldown because let's say you have some jolted enemies on the field and your subclass is in its internal cooldown for however long. You kill another enemy, you'll get that ionic trace, which then goes right back into your super and generates you more super energy. Our exotic of choice is Geomags. Damaging targets with Chaos Reach extend its duration. Collecting ionic traces grants you energy for Chaos Reach. So there's two pieces to this right there with that last sentence. Collecting ionic traces grants you energy for Chaos Reach. When you're not using the super, basically you'll get a good amount of super energy with each ionic trace that you collect. When you're using the super, damaging a boss or just clearing out some ads or whatever the case may be, if you happen to kill an ad and that ionic trace gets spawned and it comes over to you, what it will do is it will refund a little bit of super energy while it's in use. So if you actually look at your super bar as it's going down and you collect an ionic trace, it will actually refund you super energy. And the other nice thing about the GeoMax is you can cancel the Chaos Reach at any moment in time, saving you a little bit of super energy if you're just, quick nuking mini bosses or whatever the case may be. For the weapons, so there's a little bit of maneuverability with the weapons, so I am running the Delicate Tomb. I don't even have the Catalyst done because when this gun came out, I used it for a little bit. There was just better guns on the field at the time, so I just never finished the Catalyst. But basically, what this gun does is it has a chance to generate an ionic trace. So we can see here in its intrinsic traits the trader's vessel, so this fires wide horizontal spread when shot from the hip. Final blows with this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces, so there's another way of getting ionic traces. Powerful foes and opposing guardians will always generate, so that'll be your yellow bars and like your bosses and stuff like that, mini bosses, that will always generate one. And this thing hits pretty hard too. When I do finish the Catalyst, it's just going to help with more usability with this thing. Just, collecting the ionic trace, you're going to have so many, you're basically never going to have to reload the thing, which is going to be pretty nice. If you do not want to use the Delicate Tomb, that's completely okay. I've been finding some good results with the Risk Runner. Or if you don't even want to use an exotic at all in your energy slot, you can use basically any gun that has either jolting feedback and volt shot, or jolting feedback or volt shot. You can have either or. In my testing, I have found a little bit more consistency with jolting feedback, so if you had to focus a specific perk for your arc weapon, that would be the one to go with. If you can get a good arc linear fusion rifle, that would also be good. I'm just using the Mistral Lift because I do like this thing. I like the perk combination I have on here, and plus that ties into our artifact mods, which we'll go over here in just a second. Just using the Fatebringer as a primary, my crafted Fatebringer that I've had for a little bit now. So here we are, the artifact. So you'll need the Tablet of Ruin for this. Photonic Flare. So if you have someone on the field using Strand, basically there's a little bit of synergy there where you can get a blinding burst whenever you kill something with arc damage, whether it be through your grenade, your ionic sentry, gun, whatever the case may be. Dielectric, so defeating arc debuffed targets grants bolt charge, so that goes into the blinding effect that we were talking about earlier, along with the jolt. So those two debuffs will also help you keep your bolt charge up as much as possible, so then that constantly refreshes. You get your max stacks of bolt charge, it gets used, then you do it again, rinse and repeat. Flashover, so it says when you gain your maximum bolt charge, you become amplified. Being amplified also ties in with the other parts of the aspect of the build, and then the lightning bolts will deal more damage with this perk. Gold from lead, so this is basically lead from gold, but backwards, so if you get special ammo, you might be able to get heavy ammo, which is nice. Elemental Siphon, so this is also something very important for our super uptime. So this is rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super creates an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super, in this case, ionic traces. These elemental pickups grant matching super energy when they are collected. So that basically means that when these ionic traces come to you, you're going to get more super energy for each trace that you collect. Particle reconstruction. This is obviously a no-brainer. We're using fusion rifles on this build, whether it be the Delicate Tomb, Mistral Lift, or whatever linear fusion you have, even on a heavy setting. We all know what this does. Basically gives you more damage, which is pretty great. And then Limit Break. So basically, if you happen to get low health and you have your super, you're getting a little bit too overwhelmed, you can pop your super, and then basically it'll do a little bit more damage, which is nice to have. So if you need to like quickly nuke something and you're about to go down and that boss is still got some health on him, you can just pop your super and you get him pretty quickly. So back over to the armor, let's take a look at our mods. So I haven't been lucky with the rolls of the armor, so I have nothing but super mods on all of my armor sets. On our helmet, we're using 2 super fonts just to kind of help with the not only the increase in damage, but just how much super we are collecting. And I'm also using a harmonic siphon, which obviously will translate to arc. So it says here that the rapid arc final blows create an orb of power. So that also helps with super generation, especially when you're rocking like Risk Runner, Training Ghoul, Delicate Tomb, whatever your gun you're running. 1 grenade font, just to kind of help get you a boost in armor, grenade stat. 1 melee font as well, just because you get your abilities back pretty quick, and it's just that little extra boost. And then I am running Focusing Strike. Now, you don't have to do this. You can run like Momentum Transfer or whatever you want. But this is just basically there for getting the Healing Rift back, just for a little bit of extra survivability. And then our chest piece here, we're just running different resistances for all 3 of our main types. On our Geomags, we're running 1 Arc Weapon Surge just to get you a little bit of extra damage. I'm running Absolution, which gives you extra ability cooldowns, so you can get your grenades back faster and whatnot whenever you pick up Orb. And then Insulation for, again, class ability cooldowns, just so you can get the Healing Rift just a little bit faster. But you can run like Invigoration or Recuperation, whatever you want to run here. On our class item, we are running Bomber, Distribution, and Reaper. So this is just kind of helps. So Reaper especially helps with the Orb of Power generation, which then translates to a faster super. So when we put all of that together, it looks absolutely incredible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up, I like going to Sorrow's Harbor and messing around with this. We'll load up in the Sorrow's Harbor, and we will mess around with the build. But before we do that, the one thing I want to mention when it comes to grabbing your armor set are the ones you want to focus. So what you want to focus mainly is your grenade, your super, and your weapons. Grenade for the stacking damage bonus for your Ionic Sentry. Now, I have not been too lucky, again, like I said, with getting the correct roll, so you can see, like, I have Skirmisher. No one wants melee. This Grenadier has health in it, which is not really the best idea. And then I'm just running a Geomag that I got from the collections. So there's obviously more potential left on the table. Again, same thing here. We have a little bit of melee here, which obviously we don't want. So I would prioritize super as your number 1, with grenades as your number 2, because this does some incredible damage with Ionic Sentry. And then weapons as your 3rd stat. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head on down to the moon, and I can show you this build in progress. Okay, so here we are on the moon. Looks like we have a few friends already doing the Sorrow's Harbor here. So we're just going to go ahead and make our little cruise on over. Right here at Thorn already. Essentially, what we're going to do is we are going to generate as many Ionic Traces as we can. You can see here we have our Ionic Sentry, so this is going to go ahead and do incredible damage. We can see we already got half our super back. That guy, there's more Ionic Traces being generated. We already have another Ionic Sentry on standby, so we can just chuck that bad boy down, and look at that, we have our super already. So I'm using the Delicate Tomb primarily just to get our Ionic Traces up and our super, but I'm also working on the Catalyst as well, so I do need final blows with the thing. We already have another Ion Sentry, so let's go ahead and flop that down. Let's hit this guy, kill him, cancel it. Look at that, we already have half our super energy. 3/4, and we got it back. Cancel. Yeah, you can kind of see what's going on here. Now, how does this handle an endgame? Now, this does handle itself very well at endgame content. When you're looking at Grandmaster and Ultimate content, this pretty much performs the same. It's an absolutely fantastic mobbing build. It does great damage towards your bosses. It's mind-boggling, the capabilities of this build. And like I said, it can be better, especially when I have the catalyst for this gun, and you actually have the proper stat split. So let's see, we have our Ionic Sentry, so we're going to go ahead and chuck that over there. We'll hit this guy with the additional lift here. Still generating super. Throw my grenade right there. Get that blinding effect, and look at that. Now we have our next super available. Alright, there's the next friend. Air, target him. Dies instantly. Grab this boy over shield real quick. Look at that, another Ionic Sentry. Slap that bad boy down. Oh, we just got another super. Super generation here is incredible. And this is after the artifact code got fixed, because you could just run Elemental Siphon. When it was glitched out, you could just retain it. This is pretty much the same thing without matching super. But there's a lot more utility. Knight here, there he is. Fine. We can zap him to the Arc Gods. And the Ionic Sentry does such a good job of keeping the ads in check. So if you're not paying attention, or you have a lot of ads on you and you're trying to complete a certain objective, like trying to kill these wizards with the sword, the Ionic Sentry does a great job of keeping enemies on the back. So here we go, we can begin our super generation once more. Just erase this guy off the face of the planet. So you can see we already have half our super back. Go find our next mini boss, chuck that over there. Get Diodic Trace. Look at that, new super. Down here, and there, and let's just laser this guy. He's dead. And we got half our super energy back already. So yeah, that is the gist of our build here. Like I said, there is some more room for improvement. This is just pretty much as optimized as I can get it based on the roles that I was given. Unfortunately, you know, it hits really well, but it can do so much better. So this is right now my favorite build that I've been working with. I have a Void one on Hunter, a Solar one on Hunter. I'm working on a nice Solar one for here on Warlock. And I'll eventually be messing with my Titan. We'll be getting some more builds going, but this is the one that I've been having the most fun with, so I wanted to share it with everybody here. So that'll do it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below what you would change about the build, or any build ideas that you might have for Warlock, or whatever character you play. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you see the next video go live so you don't miss out. There'll be plenty more Destiny content to come. Been enjoying this game, so that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.